Good evening. I'm doing a sit and talk, although the temperature is slightly less, but the roads have become unpredictably slippery. And so with Holly, we fed our animals outside. The snow is deeper and more reliable for your footing. So uh, maybe tomorrow I'll be back on the road again. Instead of just walking through the fields, feeding the animals, which they're very happy to be fed. Like you, I followed both with upsettedness and concern and empathy for the people who are in such a terribly uncertain and dangerous situation that, for the most part, has cost people property that meant a lot to them. It was their home. It was the items in the home that remind them of the best of times and the most difficult of times as well, of their joys and of their pain. But there's been talk about, how simple it would be if somebody had just done this, that, or the other thing. And there's a lot of talk about we need more firefighters and we needed more water. And I think that this is a more complex issue, and the people in charge know it's a more complex issue, and why they're not acting upon it in that way, I don't know. And when I say acting upon it, the best we can do is what we're doing presently. That means keeping people alive or getting them treatment if they've been injured by breathing, among other ways, and dealing with the psychic diorama that is losing a home, particularly when some have lived in it 40 or 50 years, a lifetime by other standards. So I can't in a few moments make simple what's going on in LA, and I don't presume to know exactly what's going on, but I do know some of the features that we're not talking about. We're not talking about what literally sparks these wildfires. And when I say sparks, they often think in these periods of drought and warmth that it's as simple as a spark from an electrical outlet, or somebody doing something stupid, or somebody doing something intentionally. Those ideas will be run down and we'll have some idea what it is. But curing any of those is not curing the problem. It's addressing a symptom rather than the problem. We've been on notice since June of 1988 when Jim Hansen, a NASA scientist, told us about global warming. In my experience, it was many years before that. We were talking about what it meant for the ozone layer, what it meant for greenhouse gases, what we were doing to the planet. And I may have told this, I'm sure I've told this story before, but I was with a group of people at Columbia, and the women were from Barnard. And there's one really sharp woman, and we were talking deep into a whole variety of other issues. And then one of us started talking about what are we going to do about the environment. And this, to my surprise, and certainly hers, opened up a whole new world. Why aren't we doing something about that? This is in the late 60s, early 70s. And she was thunderstruck that nobody was doing anything. That's 20 years before Hansen in 88 was telling everybody about global warming. Now, we did help ourselves despite his dire predictions at the time, because we were surprised when we cut out refrigerant gases. It slowed global warming, but it didn't stop it, because we were continuously adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And that's really the legacy of the Industrial Revolution, the oil, the coal, and the gas. We never quite wrap our minds around what's going to bite us in the ass for doing A that's going to also cause B. And then if it's cheaper and it's different and people are wed with it, we don't want to give it up. We don't want to modify it and so forth. Now, global warming, some of the warmth was absorbed by the oceans, and that had its effect on life in the sea. Vegetation helps. carbon dioxide inhaled by greenery that becomes oxygen. But what about LA? What is it about LA that connects it to global warming? Well, it's had hot summers. There have been the wildfires out there. There are even seasons out there. They recognize it as that way. So you have the hot summers, you have the drought, you have the development, you have the overpopulation, you have the demand for water to sprinkle it on your lawn. You have decreasing water supplies in which people are just this close to having war water fights. And we're not talking about the amusing kind. We're talking about for business, leisure, and so forth. And the difference is caused, and this is not the only factor, but it's the most dramatic one, I think, is that the river war is between those who are at the source of the water. And the Colorado River is a source of 73% of the water found in the LA, California region. And the State Water Project and Colorado River Aqueduct are the source of those waters. And if you look at the Colorado River on a map, you'll see it goes through seven states. And the 1,450 mile river is draining from 1/12 of the United States for 7 states. Now the uphill states don't want to allow the downhill states to have as much water as they want or say they need. And this is fine when there's plenty, but there's not always plenty. And a century ago, it was about 20 million acre feet, and it's not so much now. And there were talks in the past when there were other water shortages of why don't we go and invade Canada for the water? Is that what Trump is doing? I don't know. As we observe him, we know he sends out signals and metaphors to create an atmosphere. It's sort of the way he tests the environment and also political environment. It's also to get at people and to hurt them and so forth and to keep them imbalanced. But there was a talk about this years ago. And this is a real problem because, if a guy like Trump is given up and is going to look to Canada and Greenland, and the underlying issue, which involves these complicated things we're talking about, then just give him more water. But you can see where this is going to be the war of this century as compared to oil was the last century. Where do we get the water? Where and how do we control our droughts and summers? And the answer is to do a lot of things. I mean, individual house owners can do things with their house that will decrease the heat that they generate by what they reflect back into the planet, by growing things on their roofs, by solar. There's a whole variety of things that can be done that is not being done. Now, elsewhere in the news, we have things like Bannon is out there and he's going berserk. Maybe it's hard to tell the difference between how he is one day and the next if you're calling him berserk. But he's out to limit Musk, and he's going to get at him, and he thinks Musk should go back to South Africa, and he doesn't even think he should be able to attend the inauguration, and he's going to see that he can't get into the White House except as any other citizen might. It's nice to see them fighting with each other, but it underscores the fact that we're not ready for prime time as a nation when we have people like this talking like this, like a child. There's also talk about, because there are articles on the subject about religion, and taking a center stage in our politics and so forth. Oh yeah, why not bring back the Inquisition? That was a good idea, wasn't it, in its time, superimposing on people the value of one system, and then if they don't agree, you can flay their skin, pull out their entrails, hang them, put them on fire. You can do all sorts of things, and all of these things have happened. This is not an exaggeration, by the way. Our First Amendment meant we have a freedom of religion. We can worship any imaginary being or myth or substantive religious belief that we wish. We just can't impose it on anybody else, and we can't have the government assist in that imposition, if you will. There's some good news that I enjoy, which is that we're talking about Biden extending his environmental profile in his final days to create new national monuments. And one is Chuckawalla, and the other is Satitara, and it's Native American lands. And one is 624,000 acres, and the other is 224,000 acres. The Interior Secretary, I believe, is the first Native American to be our secretary. And these changes are made under the Antiquities Act of 1906, if I'm correct. So that's a good thing. And you may remember that Biden also took action to protest those who abused the East and West Coasts and so forth. And so they're now protected. And so is the North Bering Sea offshore. So I think that's a pretty important thing, and I'm very glad of that. It was interesting to me, having started this discussion, talking about the water in LA and so forth, that Senator Lankford of Oklahoma says we're not going to invade Greenland. Now, when I hear that now, I think, is Trump looking for a place to seize and invade so that he can have the sources of water, rather than do anything about what he calls a hoax, which is global warming, which is very much at the center of this difficulty on the West Coast. And no one is going to be exempted. Everybody is going to be affected by this. Holly and I did enjoy trudging in the snow a little bit, which is in that uncertain state, to take care of our animals. And I probably have a couple of pictures I can post with this. But I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be out on a non-icy road. I did walk on it a little bit, but I had to pay so much attention to it. I'm sure I'd land the wrong way if I tried to do the minimal coordination it requires to both talk and walk. So all the best. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Have a good evening, and watch out for the ice. Bye-bye.